Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2. My name is Calvin, and we're going to take a look at this today. It's been out about a year already, I think, so it was about time I jumped into this to have a look. I've been spending a bit of time in this recently, so I wanted to do a video of it. I know, obviously, Space Marine 1 was a hell of a good game as well, and I will do a video of that at some point, but I thought as I was playing this game at the moment, I'd do a quick video of it. Now, all the clips you see here are basically of my current playthrough, so it's quite far into the game. I couldn't start a new game, because if you try and start a new game, it just wipes out your current progress, which is crazy. But I guess that's because this is literally a console game from the ground up. Yeah, it was available on a PC, the first one as well, but the way it's designed is definitely a console style game. So it's obviously a third-person shooter based in the Warhammer 40k universe. You're an Ultramarine, same guy from the first one, but this time, instead of fighting orcs, you're fighting Tyranids. And there's chaos as well, as you can see here. There was chaos in the first one as well, just spoilers. But yeah, the Tyranids are like these nasty bloody alien-style creatures that just want to eat you and eat everything, basically. I think they just go around consuming everything they can. There's obviously a whole lore to it that I can't really get into in this short video, but obviously if you like 40k, then you'll know what they are. But if not, then maybe it's about time you got into it. 40k has got some deep lore, and it's bloody good. Now the game is mainly a story-driven third-person shooter, like I mentioned. It's kind of, you do one mission, then you go on to the next, the next, the next, and the story expands as you go along. And that is in no way a bad thing, Yeah, sure, we all like these big open world sandbox games, but still, now and then it's nice just to have a story-driven game. And the cinematics and stuff like this are really good in this game. They've spent a lot of time and effort, being true to the lore and making the world feel as gritty as it's supposed to be. On most missions you'll start off with, you go back to your kind of like carrier or your main capital ship, and you'll drop down to a planet and you'll start a mission. There'll be a little intro to it, and like this I'm going through here, there's usually like an area you go through before the action kind of really starts. And it's all part of the story of whatever planet you're on at the time, what's happening with these Tyranid invasions that are going on. And as well as the chaos involvement that kind of starts to unravel as you get through the game. But yeah, it kind of just sets the scene for the mission that you're on, and what's happened here, what's going on. And then, like I said, it's really cool the way they set this up. Now you do get to gear up in the Wargear room before you go on the mission. I'll show that a bit later, but you also come across points like this during missions where you can actually swap out the weapon you got, and also you'll find some weapons laying on the ground in different areas, ammo boxes and grenades, and so on. Basically, you're never going to run out of ammo. You can now and then, but most of the time you'll be able to find new ammo to re-gear yourself. Unlike that part there, you can completely swap out the weapon that you got as well, so it's quite nice, so you're not always locked into using the same weapon throughout the game. Now, you'll have two types of weapons anyway, or three types when you start. You'll have your main rifle type gun, and you also have a pistol and a melee weapon. And here I got the power sword, but you get a chain sword, you can get a knife as well. And when you get a bit further into the game, you can get a power hammer as well, which is a big two-handed melee weapon. The way the combat works in this game on the maps and the missions is there'll be kind of areas you go into, and it'll all be set up. You can tell straight away that it's going to be some combat there, It's usually an openish area. There are other parts of the map where you're exploring the area and just moving to different parts, but it's definitely obvious where you're going to get some combat. The combat can get quite hectic at times. You'll get swarmed by lots of enemies. I mean, this was towards the start of the mission, so you don't get too much. But as you get later in, you get more and more in these areas, and it can get quite hard if you're not paying attention. Combat's not super hard. It's just left click, right click, or dodge. You can zoom in as well when you shoot, if you want to be more accurate, or if you're close range, you can just fire your weapon. And you'll get little quick time events like that we just seen where you'll get jumped on by certain enemies and you have to press certain keys to get out of it. But most of the time you're kind of just hacking and slashing through everything. But then here, you see me doing an execution. And when you do executions, it kind of basically heals you. In the top left-hand corner, you've got your health and you've got your shield. So every time you do an execution, it'll fill those back up for you. So that's how you keep on top of your health. And down the bottom, obviously, you've got the weapon you got selected. You got your special kind of attack move, which this guy goes a bit mental and you can just kill everything really fast. And then you got your grenades. Now you get different types of grenades as well. Some you'll be able to carry more of than others. And it's just, you know, you'll see them scattered around the maps as well, so you can choose what to take. Or, of course, you can choose what to take before you leave for the mission. And then there'll be, as you progress through the map, you know, you'll have objective points you've got to go to, like this one, where you just got to interact with an object and, you know, press a button and it'll kind of just do it for you. It's, I don't know, I would have much rather something a bit more interactive maybe, but, or just a cutscene that just showed you go past it, but, you know, it is what it is. Now, I just want to note on some of the performance. Now here, the performance dropped right down to 20 FPS. And in other places, it'll drop right down as well. Now, obviously, there was a hell of a lot going on there with all that physics and stuff with that bell coming down. But, you know, I'm having to run the game with DLSS and frame gen to get a decent FPS. And that is running everything on ultra. Later on, I'll show the game running on a high. And it is a lot better. Bearing in mind I do have a 5080 and a pretty high-end rig. So I was hoping I would be able to run the game on high without any issues at all. But not high, I mean ultra. Without any issues, but that's just not the case. High was a lot better. Now I'm sure I could jump into the settings and play around and find out what was actually causing the drops in the FPS. And just push it out that way. But for the video I just kept the settings kind of as their default ones. So ultra and then high. And it was 2 times frame gen I think I was running. You can go higher as well, of course, with the 5000 series cards if you wanted. Jumped a bit later into the game here where I've actually got a jump pack. On some missions you do get jump packs to equip. And this just shows off a bit of the verticality of the maps. You know, you're not always stuck to the same level. You can jump around and attack different mobs that are kind of down sniping you and stuff like that. Now, you can't fly with them. They are jump packs, so you can, you know, jump very high and move large distances with it, but you can't constantly fly with them. But that's part of the lore, I think, in the game. They've always been jump packs as far as I can remember in the Warhammer universe. Though I could be wrong there, but yeah. Yeah, it leads into parts of the maps where you kind of need to use the jump packs again to get to the next objective. Like here, you know, it's the only way you could do it. Without it, you wouldn't be doing this part of the map, basically. So like I said, it's very linear, this game, okay? You know, you're not doing much exploring. There's a few different areas and specials you can kind of go and unlock and find, but you've not got massive open maps to explore. You're just getting funneled from one point to the other. And fighting in these big areas then where you know, like I said, where it's obvious the fights are going to take place. But that doesn't distract from the actual fun. And like I said before, you know, sometimes it's good to just get into a little game like this rather than, you know, just always having these big open world games where you can just go around and do, you know, explore and do whatever you want. Sometimes I like a good story just to sink my teeth into. And this does provide that. It's very enjoyable. The first one was as well. So, I mean, you know, it's probably worth picking up the first one. I think they just done a recent, I say remaster for it, but, you know, they upgraded it a tiny bit for modern devices. So it's definitely worth picking that up. But this is just on another level. The graphics are really good. I mean, obviously it's using Unreal 5. And, yeah, it's just really nice. But yeah, you can get some really good kills in as well. Some of the executions are a lot of fun. Talking about the melee combat side of things, if you press escape, you can actually see the combos that you can do with the current melee weapon you've got equipped. So each of the different weapons will have different types of combos you can do. So yeah, it's not just click, click, click. There are different combos you can get into. As you get through the game as well, there's different kind of creatures you fight. Sometimes they're kind of semi-boss creatures like the Carnifex here. They're a lot harder, and they'll have a kind of certain attacks they do like that, where you got to kind of try and dodge out the way of them. Otherwise, they'll do a hell of a lot of damage to you. And obviously, they take a lot of damage as well. But yeah, these aren't like the bosses. We'll see one of those in a bit, but these are kind of just, I guess, mid-level bosses that you'll get to, you know, which are a bit easier to kill than the final bosses. But it's all about these kind of attacks that you kind of got to dodge. And if you dodge them at the right time, you can kind of turn around and you can shoot them and do a ton of damage. And I haven't mentioned yet, obviously you got your squad with you as well. Now, they don't really do too much damage. They're a bit of a distraction sometimes for the enemies. And I've never seen one die, but I think they do, and I think you can go and kind of revive them if you need to. But yeah, they are there, more of a distraction really. Of course, there is multiplayer to this as well, and you can invite friends into your single-player campaign if you want. Or there are full-on multiplayer modes as well that we'll have a look at in a minute. Unlike normal mobs, the boss or semi-bosses do have executions as well, as you can see here. They're pretty cool. You kind of start ripping the guy apart and using his own own limbs to kill him. And it's rather bloody as well. Now, there are actually full-on boss fights in the game, like this one here. This guy's a chaos sorcerer of some kind, I guess, and yeah, he's flying around on his little disc. And this part of the fight's pretty easy, but most of these big boss fights have a couple of different stages. And this is the second stage of this boss fight, and he gets into melee combat and does some really nasty damage to you if you're not careful. And he's got a hell of a long range with his melee attacks. As you can see, and I'm taking a hell of a lot of damage in this fight. So you have got to be careful. You've got to make sure you get these dodges in properly, and I was kind of failing here. And it's all about that. The combat with the bosses is kind of dodging out the way of these attacks. And you can see when they're coming. There'll be like a little round icon that pops up on the screen, and as long as you dodge at the right time, you'll be good. But yeah, I was not doing great here. I did want to mention quickly the Wargear room. You know, before you start a mission, you can come into here and you basically just come in and select kind of what gear you want to equip yourself with. And we'll have a proper look at this as well in the multiplayer side of things now. But yeah, you can select the weapons you want to start the game with. And obviously, you've got a load unlocked in the single player game, but in multiplayer, you've got to play and unlock as you go along. Now, starting multiplayer is a bit of a pain in the arse. You've got to do it from your kind of capital ship. You can't just quit out and jump into it. You've got to quit back to your capital ship, go to the mission terminal and change it to a multiplayer mode. But in multiplayer mode, the armor is a bit different. You get to kind of fully customize your guy. You can change the kind of chapter of your Space Marines you are, or the chapter of the Chaos Space Marines. You can customize what weapons you're going to take, your different classes, as you can see at the top here, Tactical, Assault, Vanguard, and so on. And then you can also actually customize the appearance of your guy with the edit armor option. Now, a lot of these are DLC only, and you can buy them, or you can use in-game currency to buy the different parts. As you can see here, I'll go in and basically, I think I must have got some in-game currency for pre-ordering the game when it first came out. And each of these you got to unlock before you can actually equip the whole armor piece. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is what it is. It's a shame they hide all this behind DLC, but it's obviously standard practice these days. Most companies do this kind of thing to make some extra money. But now, as you can see, I can select the Dark Angels chapter, and yeah, I can play the game as a Dark Angel if I wanted to. And when you select the multiplayer mode you want to do, you do kind of queue for a while, and it kind of waits until it finds all the players it needs. I'm just doing a capture and control one here just to show what it's quickly like. I've never actually played multiplayer before, so it was the first time me giving it a go. Mainly because it's such a pain to get into the multiplayer side of things. Yeah, you start the match, it does a quick overview of the map itself, so you know kind of how it's laid out. They're not massive maps, but they're big enough for, I think it's just 4v4. Or at least this game mode is anyway. There's quite a few different game modes, and I might do a separate video on the multiplayer side of things for this game. Because yeah, I've not really touched it myself. But as you can see here, I've been put onto the Chaos side here. The default Chaos chapter looks pretty cool anyway, so we'll just go with it. So yeah, this game mode, like I said, is just, you know, catch and hold, actually. So you've got to catch the point and hold them. And the longer you hold in the points, the more points you accrue until you reach a certain amount and you kind of win the game. So it's pretty important to work with your teammates in this, especially this game mode anyway. Because, yeah, you're a big old Space Marine, but it doesn't actually take long to get you down. There's different points to hold on the map, like this one here. Once you capture this one, you kind of got to go on to the next one. And, you know, the longer you hold them, the more points you will accrue. And obviously you get points and stuff for killing as well. And there is verticality in the maps, because yeah, you can go as an assault trooper with the jump packs if you wanted, and there are other tools that you can use to get up and down to the different areas, as well as obviously just running around the map to get up there. And I mean, as you expect, this plays out as a standard kind of multiplayer game, I suppose. I think it's using the standard Unreal multiplayer kind of side of things, so there is some lag now and then, and you know, the hit reg isn't the best. But it's a bit of fun as well. It's a nice addition to the game, and people do spend a lot of time with the multiplayer side of it. But yeah, I think I'll do a deep dive on the multiplayer in a separate video. Obviously, at the end of a multiplayer match as well, you get all the stats. You know, how well you've done, how much XP you've gained, what kind of unlocks you get. And you do actually get coins as well, I see here now, for actually completing a multiplayer game. So it's pretty good. And obviously you get the standard scoreboard as well you can look at. I think I did okay here for my very first multiplayer game. 10 kills, 10 deaths. That's not terrible. I seem to have done a lot better than some of the people on my team. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So there we go, guys. That is a look at Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. It's a lot of fun. And I mean, like I said, I am not a fan of third-person shooters generally, but I do like a story-driven game, and this has a decent story. It's set in the Warhammer universe, which I love. You know, I've been playing Warhammer games since I was a kid, even the tabletop side of things. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to pick it up and get into it, and I'm glad I did. I am enjoying it. Now, because of its basic combat and stuff like that, I can't play too much of it at the same time, so I'm just doing bits at a time. Because it's a bit repetitive, I guess you could say. You know, the story's good, but the combat can get repetitive if you're just constantly doing it. So, yeah, I jump in now and then, you know, a couple of times a week, jump in, do a few hours, progress through the story. I might give the multiplayer side of things a bit more of a go now that I've played it. It's not a perfect game. I mean, performance-wise, it's pretty shitty. It's standard Unreal 5, really, you know. Most games have pretty bad performance using that engine. And it does take a while for people to get it sorted out. But like I said, if I jumped off Ultra to High, it was a lot better. I didn't have any big drops. But yeah, I was just kind of a bit disappointed with that. And then also the way the game's set out, you know, when you're playing the single player game, you can't just save and quit out at any time. There's checkpoints. It's a proper console game when it comes to that. And it's a shame because you know, when I was doing this video initially, I thought I want to check multiplayer out. But then I realised I couldn't just quit out and jump into multiplayer because I would lose all my progress in the game that I was in because I wasn't at a checkpoint. So there are some negatives to this. But in general, it plays really well. I'm enjoying the story. So yeah, like I said, if you like Warhammer, it's worth a look. I just want to say thanks to everyone for watching. If you like what you've seen, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps with all the YouTube side of things. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks a lot.